Have you ever been in the middle of a perfectly normal conversation when a sudden, suffocating chill drops in your gut? A terrifying realization that the person speaking to you is simply running a script? It is not that they are merely emotionless, it is an absolute echoing void. In 2002, a cryptic message leaked into the esoteric fringes of the internet claiming that half of humanity might not actually possess a sovereign soul. They were termed organic portals. Today, we are going to dissect this dark secret and uncover why the system desperately wants you to believe it. Welcome to my video. You are currently standing at the edge of one of the most dangerous and fascinating thought structures in existence. We live in an era where the line between human and machine is rapidly collapsing. Oxford philosopher Nick Bostrom proposed that if a civilization reaches a level of technological advancement to simulate consciousness, the odds are overwhelming that we are already inside such a simulation. Elon Musk echoed this chilling mathematical probability, stating there is a 1 in billions chance we are in base reality. But what if the simulation isn't just the digital environment? What if it's the people? What if the masses surrounding you are embedded into reality simply to keep you aligned with the Matrix? As a seasoned spiritual investigator, I invite you to leave your comforting illusions at the door. We will trace this phenomenon from the ancient warnings of Plato and the Gnostics to the cutting edge of neuroscience and the chilling philosophy of George Gurdjieff. We are going to dissect the anatomy of the human machine with surgical precision, only to arrive at a profound, heart-wrenching truth about your own humanity. Take a deep breath. The operation begins now. The idea of living in an artificial illusion is not a modern technological anxiety. It is an ancient, blood-deep knowing. Over 2,000 years ago, Plato offered the allegory of the cave, describing humans chained from birth, watching shadows cast on a wall, and genuinely believing those shadows to be the ultimate reality. When one prisoner escapes and sees the true world, returning to free the others does not earn their gratitude. It earns their murderous hatred, because truth in an artificial world is perceived as a lethal threat. Thousands of years later, the Gnostics presented an even more terrifying variation. They taught that the visible world was constructed by artificial parasitic entities, archons, who invaded the mind, rewrote perception, and kept the soul chained to a realm of false light. Fast forward to our digital age. In 2018, the internet unexpectedly exploded with the NPC, non-player character, meme. It featured a blank, gray, expressionless face, mocking those who blindly repeat official narratives, political slogans, or media scripts without a single critical thought. It started as a cynical joke, a cultural shorthand for mass conformity. But beneath that satire lay a primitive, unsettling intuition, a growing feeling that many people are physically present but energetically absent. Scroll through any viral comment section today and you will witness an eerie predictability. Entire crowds reacting with the exact same phrases, the exact same emotional cadences, as if their individual identities have been flattened and original dialogue replaced by a synthetic echo. In the modern workplace, corporate employees are often required to suppress their individuality in favor of protocols and scripts, slowly disintegrating their personalities until they function as mere biological cogs. They operate entirely through external input, reacting rather than reflecting, moving rather than choosing. You watch them mechanically staring at their glowing screens, and a quiet sense of superiority washes over you. You tell yourself, I am awake. They are the NPCs. But before you proudly wear the badge of the 1%, let me ask you a devastating question. When was the last time you checked your phone out of pure unconscious reflex? When was the last time a stranger's comment dictated your emotional state for an entire day? What if the hollow machine you are so terrified of is quietly running inside your own mind? To understand the architecture of this psychological prison, we must trace a whisper that started in the hidden corners of the internet and bled into mainstream consciousness. In 2002, an esoteric group known as the Quantum Future School published channeled writings from intelligences identifying themselves as the Cassiopaeans. They introduced a concept that would send shockwaves through fringe spiritual communities. One half of the human race is soulless. They are organic portals. According to this chilling transmission, 50% of the global population functions as human, but lacks spiritual sovereignty. They are not driven by a divine, eternal source. Instead, they are hollow biological interfaces, existing merely to fill space, execute programs, and mirror the behaviors of those around them. Their ultimate purpose? To keep the matrix intact. They do not question reality, nor do they challenge the script. For years, this theory lingered in obscure PDFs and hidden forums. But then, the world shifted. In 2018, an image went viral. A gray, expressionless cartoon face labeled the NPC, or non-player character. It was designed to mock those who endlessly repeat official narratives, political slogans, and media scripts without a single critical thought. It started as a cynical internet joke, a digital shorthand for mass conformity. But beneath the satire, a primitive and haunting intuition was waking up. The meme leaped from symbolism into actual belief. Millions began looking around their offices, their families, and their social feeds, whispering a terrifying thought: I am surrounded by people who are just empty. It is like talking to an echo. Why does this feel so viscerally true today? Look at the design of our modern world. Social media has flattened human dialogue into an endless loop of algorithmic echo chambers. Political debates have devolved into pre-written scripts where opposing programs simply run in parallel, incapable of actual listening. In corporate environments, employees are trained to suppress their individuality in favor of protocols, told what to say, and forced to smile on command until their personalities disintegrate into mere functions. When you navigate a society engineered to reward mechanical repetition, the idea that half the population might be soulless constructs doesn't just sound plausible. It feels like a diagnosis. You watch them. You analyze their predictable behaviors, their borrowed opinions, their hollow reactions, and a quiet sense of superiority wraps around you like a warm blanket. You tell yourself, I am the anomaly. I am awake. But before you comfortably crown yourself the hero of this story, prepare yourself, because the true architect of the Matrix is about to reveal its face, and it isn't hiding in a computer server. It is hiding inside you. If you truly believe that you are surrounded by organic portals, you have just stepped into the most seductive, spiritually lethal trap the system has ever designed. To understand why, we must summon the profound wisdom of Carl Jung and the devastating mechanism of the psyche known as projection. Jung taught us about the shadow, the hidden basement of the human mind where we lock away the traits we repress, deny, or find unacceptable in ourselves. According to Jung, whatever we refuse to face internally, we will inevitably project onto others. We look at the masses and call them shallow, mechanical, soulless NPCs. But what if the emptiness you are so disgusted by in them is merely a reflection of the unconsciousness you have neglected within yourself? Think back to your own life. Have there not been countless moments where you moved through the world on pure autopilot? Moments where your reactions were flawlessly programmed by your childhood trauma, your fears, or the media you consumed. In those moments of emotional flatness and distraction, did you not also function as a portal, a repeating script with no conscious observer behind the screen? Here is the chilling moral danger of the NPC theory. The moment you genuinely believe another human being lacks a soul, you strip them of their humanity. Throughout history, every atrocity, every genocide, every act of colonialism began with this exact metaphysical distinction: the arrogant certainty that we are real and they are not. Dehumanization never starts with violence. It starts with language. It starts with the quiet, arrogant belief that the person across from you is fundamentally less than human. This is the shadow's ultimate deception. As soon as you used the concept of the NPC to stop listening, to stop empathizing, and to stop being curious, you instantly transform into the very thing you claim to despise. You become a cold, disconnected, reactive function of the system. The Matrix does not want to fight you. It wants to isolate you. It wants you to label everyone else as an organic portal so that you stop trying to reach them. It wants you to surrender to spiritual elitism, floating alone in your own superiority while the collective soul bleeds out. The ultimate irony is this. The very second you label someone as an irredeemable, soulless machine without a second thought, you have begun to sever your own spiritual thread. If the NPC theory is a psychological trap and labeling others is a projection of our own shadow, then what is the actual mission of a conscious being? How do you survive a world of echoes without becoming an echo yourself? The answer requires a profound shift from the arrogance of judgment to the agonizing, beautiful labor of discernment. If the Matrix's ultimate goal is to isolate you through the arrogance of judgment, then your ultimate rebellion is to reclaim your spiritual sovereignty. You are not here to fight the organic portals or hide in fear of energy vampires. You are here to become a lighthouse, not a lifeboat. The path to sovereignty begins with the most powerful tool George Gurdjieff ever gave us, self-observation. Instead of obsessively scanning others for signs of soullessness, turn that laser-like focus inward. Gurdjieff taught that awakening is a silent revolution taking place in every breath. When you feel drained or triggered, instead of pointing a finger, say to yourself, my machine is starting to react. In that split second of observation, you are no longer the machine. You have become the observer. This is the crack in the system where true freedom sprouts. However, we must address a painful reality that few dare to name. Trauma is not soullessness. Many behaviors associated with being an NPC, the emotional flatness, the lack of empathy, the rigid, repetitive patterns, are actually symptoms of deep, unresolved trauma, PTSD, or dissociation. People who have been profoundly wounded often build protective layers that look like emptiness, but are actually shields for a delicate, hidden core. To label a wounded soul as soulless is not just an error of judgment, it is a spiritual cruelty that reinforces the Matrix's lack of compassion. True spiritual maturity is the ability to practice discernment without falling into judgment. Discernment allows you to recognize when someone is acting unconsciously without defining their entire essence by that moment. It allows you to see the void and say, I will keep my light on just in case someone inside there wakes up. You must learn to set compassionate boundaries. As Rumi once said, don't get lost in their storm, let them get lost in your silence. You don't have to explain your no or justify your need for space. True sovereignty is knowing that your energy is a sacred currency. When you stop reacting to the scripts of others, you short-circuit the simulation from within. We have learned to protect ourselves, and we have learned to see the shadow. But why are you here, in this precise moment of history, carrying this specific awareness? Carl Jung's final warning was not about the individual. It was about the collective fate of our species. And the mission he left us might be the only thing that saves our future. Carl Jung warned that the greatest danger to humanity is not natural disasters, but the human mind itself. We live in an era where personal shadows are merging, creating a collective shadow, a storm fueled by social media mobs and the refusal to take personal responsibility for our own darkness. The NPC theory is the ultimate scapegoating tool of our time. But let's be brutally honest. When you carelessly label another human being as an NPC, you are not awakening. You are engaging in the very first step of dehumanization. You are simply projecting your own unlived mechanical shadow onto a stranger, so you don't have to face the void within yourself. But remember, a sick society is the result of individuals who cannot be themselves. Your journey of individuation is not an act of arrogant isolation. It is a rescue mission for the world. When you make the unconscious conscious, you are silently contributing to healing the collective decay. Albert Einstein proved that a small mass can create massive energy, E MC dollars. In the same way, one person living in original wholeness, unmasked, authentic, and sovereign, carries more power than an army of sleeping minds. You were not designed to fit into the crowd. You were designed to be a disruptor of the simulation. If you have stayed with me until this final chapter, it is because you have felt that unexplained recognition in your soul. You are not a biological machine dreaming you are alive. You are a spiritual entity having a human experience. The bitter truth we dissected today, the Matrix, the NPCs, the shadow, was never meant to make you cold or superior. It was a spiritual surgery to remove the tumors of illusion that have been eating at your soul. So, what is your choice tonight? Will you return to your old habits, letting automatic reactions lead your life for another day? Or will you choose the more difficult but majestic path of presence? Remember, awakening is not a destination. It lies in the gap of a single, lonely second when you choose to stop, breathe, and observe instead of reacting. Your sensitivity is not a defect. It is a divine design, a map to your true self. Before we part ways, I have one request for the truest part of you. Take a deep breath right now. Feel your heart. Leave a comment with the number 1 if you have ever looked into the void and decided to keep your light burning anyway. Type 0 if you are just beginning to realize that you've been sleepwalking and you're ready to wake up. Your stories are the sparks that help others find their way out of the dark. Please like, subscribe, and share this video with one person you suspect is also walking around with a brilliant mind the world never knew how to hold. You're watching Awakened Wisdom, where ancient truth meets modern awakening. Stop calling it fate. Take back the helm. Keep the fire within.